I've said it once and I'll say it again, horror victims don't typically deserve to die unless you're in a team slasher, in which case it's fun and we cheer for it. But for the most part, a lot of characters in horror movies meet their end and they do not deserve it. These are the top 5 horror movie victims who don't deserve their fate, part 3. You guys are loving this series. In at 5 we have Nancy Thompson and Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, aka the superior Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Quote me on that. It's just straight up facts. Now, Nancy is the OG protagonist of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. She of course appeared in the first movie as the teen who discovers that you can pull Freddy into the real world and hurt him. Anyway, she once again pops up in the 3rd installment, Dream Warriors, alongside Patricia Arquette. The movie itself takes place in a mental hospital, with Nancy returning as a psychiatrist to help the teens who have experienced Freddy battle him and attempts to take him down once and for all. She teaches the teens to control their dreams and to fight back against the knife-wielding villain. She forms a bond with one of the teens, Kristen, which makes it all the more upsetting when Nancy meets her end. In Dreamworld, Nancy manages to rescue Kristen, another teen who Freddy had trapped, but sadly, Nancy is lured in by Freddy, who takes on the disguise of her father, who claims he was sorry for all he had put her through. They embrace, and then Freddy stabs her right through the stomach. Kristen holds Nancy, promising that she would dream her into a beautiful dream where she would never die. It's all very sad, but the comforting thing is knowing that Wes Craven's New Nightmare exists, and if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was all a movie and Nancy was just a character that Heather Langenkamp played. It's all very meta, but great. New Nightmare was amazing. Arguably the best. It goes Nightmare on Elm Street, New Nightmare, Dream Warriors. Sometimes they switch around, and everything else is Before we jump into number 4, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps us out a lot. Coming in at number 4, we have Megan from House of the Devil. The House of the Devil is an incredibly underrated horror movie released in 2009 and directed by Ty West. The movie stars Jocelyn Donahue, Greta Gerwig, and Tom Noonan, and follows a young college student who is hired as a babysitter at an isolated house, and is soon forced to fight for her life when she is caught up in some bizarre goings-on. Now, Greta Gerwig plays Megan. This was before she became a very famous director. This was like Frances Ha times, you know, when she was superior, now she's mainstream. Greta Gerwig plays Megan, a teen who at first glance seems to be a typical character to be killed off. She's brash, outspoken, and is a smoker who has lots of sex. She's also very rich. However, we learn along the way that there is so much more to her, and she actually has a good head on her shoulders with a lot of sense, unlike our protagonist Samantha. Megan attempts to warn Samantha throughout the movie that things might not be as they seem, and that perhaps she shouldn't accept the job of a babysitter in a mansion outside of town for a lot of money. However, Samantha doesn't listen. Why would she? So Megan drives away, but she makes the mistake of stopping for a cigarette and is instantly shot dead without pause. It's a shocking death, very abrupt and unexpected, and more than anything, it was not deserved. Megan was a great character. Like our numbers though, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Coming in at number 3, we have everyone in Hostel. Yes, I know this is a cop-out answer, but it is true. Almost all of the victims in Hostel did not deserve their fate. Not a single one, except the 2 girls who lured the tourists. That's a different point altogether. I've actually included them on our list of people who deserve to die. Anyway, released in 2005 and directed by Eli Roth, Hostel follows 3 friends traveling across Europe who encounter a man who convinces them to visit a hostel. And while there, they are drugged and robbed, with one of their friends disappearing completely. They are then captured by a secret organization who pay to torture and kill tourists. But Americans are worth the most. One of the friends, Josh, wakes up in a dungeon-like room with his hands bound and a Dutch businessman with a drill standing not far away. The man begins to drill into Josh, and then of course he cuts his Achilles tendons, arguably one of the worst parts of the entire movie. The other friend, Paxton, also wakes up in a similar situation, restrained and tortured, with the man cutting off some of his fingers. Paxton thankfully escapes though, even rescuing a woman in the process whose eye had been burned off. Very disturbing, gory and unnecessary. None of these people deserved the torture they received. They weren't being punished for their sins, they were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, and ultimately trusted the wrong people. Scary stuff. Don't talk to strangers unless they're me. And don't go to hostels. And don't go to Europe. Just stay in your home. In at number 2, Larry from Hellraiser. I heard your cries, people. You were all very upset that I didn't include Larry in part 1 or part 2 of this list, but he's here now, so we can all settle down. Released in 1987, directed by Clive Barker, and based on his novella The Hellbound Heart, Hellraiser follows the Cenobites, a murderous group from a different dimension who are summoned to our world via a puzzle box. The Lament configuration. They are sadistic and don't know the difference between pleasure and pain. pain, and those who summon them will be taken to their underworld, where they will be tortured for eternity. Sounds lovely. Now, Julia discovers all of this after finding a newly resurrected body of her former brother-in-law, Frank, who she had also been having an affair with. Shady bitch. So she begins killing people for him in order to revitalize his body so he can escape from the demonic beings. Larry is the husband of Julia. They have a strained marriage, but they purchased a new home in order to repair and work through their problems. Larry is trying, Julia doesn't particularly care, because she's a shady bitch. Instead, she hopes to run away with Frank. Anyway, Frank ultimately kills Larry and then steals his skin in order to take his identity. However, the Cenobites are smart and not easily fooled. When they learn of Frank's actions, they quite literally tear him to pieces. Yes, they are the villains, but respect, they know what's what. Larry, though, he did not deserve the fate handed to him. Poor guy, he just wanted to save his marriage. But he had both a brother and a wife. Larry deserved more. And finally, in at number 1, Danny Trejo, Halloween. The 2007 Rob Zombie remake of Halloween tends to divide fans, but I think one thing we can all agree on is that Danny Trejo's character deserved better, and that's something I never thought I would say on this channel, because a lot of the time he's annoying and deserves it. Like I said before, the film is a remake slash reimagining, depending on how you view it, of the 1978 horror movie of the same name. It is also the 9th installment in the Halloween franchise. Starring the likes of Malcolm McDowell, Scout, Taylor Compton, and Danny Trejo, the movie itself follows the premise of John Carpenter's movie, with Michael Myers stalking Laurie Strode and her friends on Halloween night. However, it delves much deeper into the psyche of Michael Myers in an attempt to answer the questions of what has driven him to kill, and why is he so obsessed with Laurie. One of the characters in the movie is Ismael Cruz, played by Danny Trejo. He was a prison guard at Smith's Grove Sanitarium, where he befriended 10-year-old Michael Myers. He tried to cheer him up, to not let things bring him down. He worked with Michael for almost 2 decades. However, things changed just 3 months before Ismael's retirement. He began training a new guard, one that would replace him, and this angered Michael, who broke out and killed several guards at the hospital before drowning Ismael in a sink full of water and then crushing his head with a television. The moment was very sad, especially knowing that Ismael was one of the only people who truly cared for Michael and wanted to help him. RIP. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any horror movie victims that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do a part 4. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from part 2 of this list. Jay Grunley said, well, this list hit hard with all the feelings. Truth, particularly the dog in I Am Legend and the dad in A Quiet Place. If I thought about them for a long time, I could cry right now, but I won't. Rachel Carpenter said, I really love this series. One of my favorites you all have made. Thank you, Lucy. You're welcome. I'm glad you guys enjoy it. It's one of my favorite series as well. It could go on forever because a lot of people don't deserve to die. That's fact to life. Genji Jar said, Lucy, love the hoops. I would turn into a vampire to save you too. But you don't need to save me. I'm already a vampire, according to a lot of you. But thank yous. You can just follow me into eternity if you want. Terry Ryan said, damn Lucy, being savage this ending. Love it. I am savage in most videos. Maybe that was particularly savage? I don't even know what I said in that video. Who knows? I was probably on Chloe Grace Moretz again. I love that. Gav Shade said, something you might love to know, Lucy, Cutting Moments is very much available on YouTube. Also, thanks for the nightmares. I'm sorry to whoever went and sought out Cutting Moments. I don't suggest watching it. And the fact that it's still on YouTube, whoa, YouTube just have not found it yet, apparently. It's a up short horror film, and it's disturbed me. I still remember where I was, how old I was when I first watched that. Don't watch it, but you're all going to now. Red Comrade of Steel 1974 said, Lucy McPhee, how do you feel if you're the last human on Earth? I feel pretty good because I hate most people, almost all of them. So if everyone left me alone, that would be amazing. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and until next time, see you later.